Hey, welcome back, class. This is week five's video, and to start off with, we're going to go over what your assignments are. So I made a nice little table here to go over for my in-person students and virtual students what you are expected to be turning in by the end of this week. So for my in-person and virtual students, you'll see that you both have this 1-3 practice problems assignment. So that's going to be on Schoology, and it has 10 practice problems that deal with multiplying fractions, which is what we're going to be going over in this video. So make sure you're watching the examples closely, you're following along, and if there's anything that you're confused on, you reach out to me and I can help you out. Okay? So the only difference between in-person and virtual for assignments is that my virtual students, you're also going to be doing on Schoology the Candy Crush practice. And what that is it's about 12 some problems that also deal with multiplying fractions. The reason you have this assignment on Schoology and in-person does not is because in-person you will be doing it on Tuesday and Thursday, or Tuesday or Friday, depending if you're an A-Day or B-Day student. Okay? So again, both of you are going to be doing the the 1-3 practice problems, and then virtual students, you'll be doing the Candy Crush practice as well. Now, I did change it. The Candy Crush practice problems, you have multiple attempts, which means I believe you can do it at most 3 times. So if you're happy with your score the first time, then you don't have to do it again. But if you're not happy, you have 2 more tries to get the highest score that you can. Okay? And for the 1-3 practice problems, both in-person and virtual, you have, I believe, 2 attempts. So if you don't do well the first time, you can do it one more time. Okay? And no matter what, the highest score is what I will take. Now, there's also an extra credit assignment. So I don't do extra credit too often, but what I figured I would do, since we're getting close to the new month, October, we already have a good handful of grades in, to give you a little bit of an extra boost if maybe you didn't do so well in the first few weeks when we were figuring things out. This extra credit assignment is just 5 problems that deal with adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, decimals, and then a multiplying fraction problem. Okay? Give it your best shot. Uh, if you only get 1 out of 5 right, that's okay. That means you get 1 point extra towards in your grade book. So it's only extra credit. It can't hurt you. So I suggest everybody, no matter what your grade is in class, just do the extra credit assignment. It can only help you. Okay? So now let's go to start our lesson with multiplying fractions. So before we actually start the examples with multiplying fractions, one announcement I want to make for everybody. On Wednesdays, so it's a little bit different, I did put announcements on each class that on Wednesdays are my office hours. So what that means, no, I'm not going to be in the school for office hours. What I'm going to do is that every single one of my math students was added to a group on Schoology called Mr. Dotson's Math Crew. So it's not where your courses are, it's where your groups are. So you're going to go to groups, you're going to join Mr. Dotson's Math Crew. So you'll just click on the group, and then you'll see on the left side it says conferences. So every Wednesday, because every student, whether you're in person or virtual, Wednesdays are virtual. Okay, so what I'm doing on those days is from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. I'm going to have a live conference to where you can come in. If you have any questions, you can ask me anything that's math related. If maybe you're struggling with an assignment, I can work with you to help you out and get you back on track. But that's a nice long 6-hour time span to where if you have any questions that you need help with, you can come in and ask me. Okay, it's not required. You don't have to join, but if you want to chat about an assignment or if you're confused on something, it's a good time to get a little bit of extra help. Okay. So just to show you what that looks like, what you will do on Schoology, you'll see courses right here. Groups is what I'm talking about. It's right here. When you click it, mine look different than yours, but all of you should see this that says Mr. Dotson's Math Crew. It's a blue picture, has a number line on it and a bird. When you click on it, so today I had our first conference. You didn't really know about it unless you saw the announcement here. But I had the first conference, and I did it from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. because I'm filming this on a Wednesday. And what you do is over here, you'll see conferences. When you click on it, you'll see it says there are currently no conferences. That's because there's no conference going at the moment. But on Wednesdays from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., you'll see right here, it'll say whatever week it is. So week 5 conference or week 6 conference. And right over here where it says status, you'll see something that says join conference. And then you'll just join the call. Now, when you're in the conference call, you can use your mic on the device that you're using. If it's a phone, a tablet, or a computer, you can speak and ask your questions, or there's a chat. So a chat log to where you can just type in your question. I can respond to you and show you examples and all of that. Okay. So again, every Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., I will be doing conference calls to help you guys out if you need anything. Okay. All right. So let's hop into the actual lesson for today, for this week. So to start off with, as always, let's do a warm up. So let me read it to you first. And it looks a little bit different, but I want you to start thinking about fractions, right? Because that's what we're working with today. So number 1 says, what is 1/2 of 12? So what's half of 12? Think about if you had like 12 apples and I were to take half of them. How many does that leave you with? That's what the question is asking you. What is half of 12? Number 2 says, what is half of 100? Number 3 says, what is half of 120? Number 4 is different. It says, what is 1/4, or what's a quarter of 100? And then number 5 says, what's a quarter, so 1/4 of 480? All right, so give yourself a minute. Think about these 5 questions, what your answer might be for them. So pause the video, figure it out, see what you're thinking, and then when you're ready, go ahead and play the video again, and we'll go over it. Okay, so let's think about the first one. It says again, what is half of 12? Half of 12, or 12 divided by 2, because I'm cutting it in half, right, would just be 6. And one way we can figure this out, it's what we're working with today. You take a half, and you're multiplying it by 12 over 1. 1 times 12 is 12. 2 times 1 is 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So half of 12 is 6. Half of 100 is 50. You're just dividing the number by 2. Half of 120, if I were to take off the 0, what's half of 12? We just said that's 6, right? So if there's a 0 here, let's just add a 0 behind our 6. Half of 120 is 60. Now these are a little bit different because it's not half, it's a fourth, or half of a half, right? So if we divided by 2 on these, we would divide by 4 on these. So 4 divided by 100, 4 can't go into 1. 4 can go into 10 twice to give you 8. You subtract these and you get 2. You bring down your 0, you get 20. 4 times what gives you 20? 5. So you write 5 up top, you'd get 20 with no remainder, and that's exactly what you want. So that means a quarter, or 1/4 of 100, is 25. Think about it in terms of money, right? How many quarters does it take to get $1? 25, 50, 75, 100. So 4 quarters, right? 4 25-cent pieces makes 100. So your answer here is 25. And on this one, you have 1/4 of 480. Let's just do the same thing. Let's divide 480 by 4. So you have 4 going into 480. 4 goes into 4 once, because 4 times 1 is 4. When you subtract those, you get 0. Bring down your 8. 4 times what gives you 8? 2. So you write a 2 right here. You write your 8. Again, 8 minus 8 is 0. Bring down your 0. So now we need to figure out 4 times what gives us 0? 0, because anything times 0 is 0, which means that we finished our problem, and your answer is 120. So the original question was, what's 1/4 of 480? 120. Okay, this is what we're going to be working with today. We're going to be working with fractions and how we can multiply them with whole numbers, regular fractions, and mixed numbers in order to get our answers. Okay, so I'll try to take things slow with each example. I encourage you, when we do go through these examples, have a piece of paper and a pencil with you. Work through the problems with me. That way you see what's going on, you're doing it, and then hopefully it makes more sense for you. Because if you just watch the video, sometimes my voice could be a little bit boring. I'm trying not to, but I hope I'm not putting you to sleep. I want you to try these problems out, okay? So let's try the first example. All right, so let's see what we have. Example 1 says, there was 1/4 of a pan of lasagna left. Tom ate 1/3 of this amount. What fraction of a whole pan of lasagna did Tom eat? Okay, and right here it says to find a part of a whole, we multiply to solve the problem. So to find a part of something, you want to multiply, right? So let's look over here at this picture. Think about it, right? If I baked a whole pan of lasagna and there's only 1/4 left, right? If I were to split this up, here's a fourth, here's 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, because 4/4 is one whole pan, right? So this is showing that there's only 1/4 left, right? The question is, what if Tom ate 1/3 of this amount? What would the answer be? So in order to do that, we need to figure out what is 1/3 times 1/4. We want to find what is 1/4 of a third. Okay? So here's how you do it. It may seem super complicated, but really all it is, the first step, is to line up your fractions. 1/3 times 1/4. So far, so good, right? And then the second step is you want to multiply straight across. So let's choose a different color. Multiplying straight across, what's 1 times 1? 1. Not too bad, right? And then the bottom, your numerators. What's 3 times 4? 12. So the answer that we're looking for is 1/12. All you do is you line up your fractions and then you multiply straight across. Now, in some circumstances, some examples, you're going to see a third step, which is just simplifying, making the fraction as small as you possibly can. Sorry. In this one, there is no simpler fraction. 1/12 is the smallest we can get. Let's look back at this up here, this picture that we have, and let's see if we can make sense of why this answer is true. So here's what I did, right? Before, I split up this lasagna pan into fourths, right? Because there was only 1/4 of lasagna left. But the question is that if Tom ate 1/3 of this 1/4 lasagna, we wanted to know how much of a fraction of the entire pan of lasagna. So the original whole pan of lasagna, how much did Tom eat? So if you see with the green line, I split this whole pan up into thirds. Here's a third, here's 2/3, here's 3/3. So let's count these mini squares that we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So a whole pan of lasagna, when I split them up this way into fractions, makes 12 pieces. If Tom ate 1/3 of this 1/4 piece, this piece right here would be 1 out of 12 pieces. And isn't that what our answer is telling us? That Tom ate 1/12 of a whole pan of lasagna? So that's where we get our answer from. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, so example 2 says find 2/3 times 3/4 using a number line. All right, so find 2/3 of 3/4. If we look at this number line, we can see that it's split up into fourths, right? Kind of like how our lasagna pan was in the last example. We have 0, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4 makes 1, right? So 4 over 4 is just 1. So that's why you see a 1 there, right? So we want to figure out what is 2/3 of 3/4. So I'm just going to draw a blue line from here to here. So if this is 3/4, if this blue rectangle is 3/4, right? 0 to 3/4. We want to find what's 2/3 of it. All right. So let me choose a different color. If you look inside this number line, it's already broken up into thirds for us, isn't it? Isn't 1, 2, 3 equal sections here? So if I shade in 2/3 of these, so 1, 2/3, I make all of this yellow. Can't color in. Wish I could color in faster. So if this is 2/3, right? What portion of this yellow piece are we on? We're at 2/4. So let's see if we choose a different color. Let's see if we use our multiplication, if we get the same answer. So again, step 1, line up your fractions. 2/3 times 3/4. That's step 1. We lined them up. Step 2, you just multiply straight across. So choose another color. 2 times 3 equals 6. 3 times 4 equals 12. So if you remember in the last example, I said sometimes there's a third step, and that's where you simplify your fractions. Okay? Hopefully you remember simplifying a fraction just means making it the smallest it can possibly get. And here's the tricks I like to use. You look at both your top number, your numerator, and your bottom number, your denominator. See if any small numbers could go into both of them evenly. I always like to use 2 or 3. So can 2 go into 6? So 2 times what gives you 6? 2 times 3 gives you 6. Does 2 go into 12? 2 times 6 goes into 12, right? So that means that 2 can simplify this fraction. So if we divide the top by 2 and the bottom by 2, 2 times 3 gave us 6, right? And 2 times 6 gives us 12. So 3/6 is the simplified form of 6/12. Can I simplify this more? Can 2 evenly go into 3? 2, 4, no. So 2 can't evenly go into 3. 2 can evenly go into 6, but the number has to go into both. Let's try 3. Does 3 go into 3? Yeah, 3 goes into 3 one time, right? Does 3 go into 6? Yes, it does. 3 goes into 6 two times. So if I divide 3/6 by 3, let's see what our answer is. 3 divided by 3 gives us 1. 6 divided by 3 gives us 2. So our answer is 1/2. So if you look back to when we were working with this number line, we said that our answer was 2/4, right? 2/4 can be simplified. What number goes into both 2 and 4? 2 goes into 2, right? Does 2 go into 4? Yes, it does. So we can simplify 2/4 to be 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Are our answers the same? Yes, they are. So 2/3 times 3/4, we got 6/12. We simplified that to be 3/6. And then we simplified 3/6 into 1/2. So your answer is 1/2. Okay, let's try another example. All right, so this one's going to be a little bit more tricky, okay? And the reason being is we're working with mixed numbers. And what a mixed number is where you have a whole number, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a fraction attached to it. That's why it's called a mixed number, because it's a mixture of different numbers, right? So we want to figure out what is 7 1/2 times 2 3/4. Okay, so there's a few ways we can figure this out. First, let's think of estimating, right? And that's where you take the numbers and you round up or down and just find the answer approximately, okay? So it says estimate first. 7 1/2 times 2 3/4 is close to 8, because 7 1/2 is kind of close to 8, and 2 3/4 is close to 3. Well, what's 8 times 3? 24. So our answer should be close to 24. All right, so let's do the mathematics, and I'll take it slow, and hopefully this makes a little bit of sense for you. So the very first thing when you have these mixed numbers is you want to make them into improper fractions. And what an improper fraction is where you have a big number in the numerator spot, so the top, and then a smaller number in the denominator on the bottom. So let's take this 7 1/2. We'll write it down, and we'll take this 2 3/4 and write it here. It's not as simple as just saying 7 times 2, 1/2 times 3/4, right? What we need to do first is we want to change the 7 1/2 into an improper fraction. And the way you do that is you take the denominator and you multiply it by the whole number, and then add the numerator, the number on top. So 2 times 7, so 2 times 7, let me show you this in a larger picture. 2 times 7 gives you 14, and then add the numerator. 14 plus 1 is 15. So this changes to 15 over, and then you always keep your denominator the same. The bottom number stays the same. So 7 1/2 is the same thing as 15 halves, or 15 over 2, right? This is just the improper form of it. We don't like to leave things in this improper form, but sometimes it's easiest to work with a fraction that looks like this. So let's do the same thing with this 2 3/4. Let's change it to its improper form. So 2 3/4, what we do is we multiply 4 times 2, which is 8, and then add 3, which is 11. So the improper form of this would be 11 over 4 because your denominator stays the same. So now we have our two improper fractions. Using these, we can do what we did in the other examples. We set them up, 15 over 2, and we want to multiply it by 11 over 4. So we just lined up our fractions just like normal. So now that they're lined up, we can multiply straight across. 15 times 11 and 2 times 4. Well, let's just do the denominator first because we hopefully know that off the top of our heads. 2 times 4 gives you 8, so we can just write that down. Now we need to figure out what's 15 times 11, and that's going to be a little bit more, right? So let's do it up here. 15 times 11. 1 times 5 gives you 5. 1 times 1 is 1. When you're moving to the next digit, put a placeholder of 0. 1 times 5 is 5. And 1 times 1 is 1. Last thing is just add them all up. 5 plus 0 is 5. 1 plus 5 is 6. And nothing plus 1 is 1. So 15 times 11 gives you 165. Now, if you remember, I said the improper form of fractions, we don't like to leave them like that. To be improper, like if I were saying this class is being so improper, it means that you're not doing something that's right. You're going against the norm, right? So we don't want to leave this fraction top heavy, which means a bigger number on top and a smaller number on the bottom. We want to make this improper fraction go back as a mixed number, okay? And the way we do that is just division, which is why we worked with division last week. So let's divide 8 into 165 because a fraction is just a division problem. 8 divided by 165. So let's divide. Can 8 go into 1? No, it's too small. Can 8 go into 16? Yes. 8 times 2 gives you 16, which is good. When we subtract these, we get 0. And we can bring down this 5. Uh-oh. Can 8 go into 5? 8 times what gets you 5? Nothing. 0. There's nothing times 8 that gets you 5 because 8's too big. So we would write a 0 here. And that means that our remainder is 5. Sorry, that's a little far down there, but our remainder is 5. So let me teach you a trick. If you remember last week, I showed you how when you do have a remainder, we don't want to write 20 R 5. We don't want to do that anymore. We either want to keep dividing until you have no remainder, right? And so you'll have 20 point some decimal, right? Or what you can do is you can make it into a fraction. What you do is you take your answer, 20, you write it nice and big, right? We're going to make the mixed number, 20. You draw your fraction bar. Your numerator, the number that goes on top, is your remainder. So you write 5 right here. And your denominator is your divisor over here, the number you divided by, 8. So that means that your answer is 20 5/8. Okay? I know that was a lot of steps. I know. But remember, take it one step at a time. the very first thing if you have mixed numbers is that you're going to want to change them to their improper fractions. And the way you do that is you multiply the denominator by the whole number and you add the numerator. And then when you set it up, you would have 15 over 2 because your denominator will stay the same. Once you've changed the improper fractions, you want to line them up like this, just like normal. And then you want to multiply straight across, which we did. But you don't want to leave an improper fraction as your answer. You want to change it back into a mixed number. And the way we did that is we just divided the denominator into the numerator. 8 into 165. You divide all the way until you have a remainder. Okay? When you get your remainder, you can take your answer, put your remainder on top, put your divisor on the bottom. 20 and 5/8. 20 and 5/8. Okay? Let's review a little bit, and hopefully this will make a whole bunch of sense towards the end. So here's what I want us to do, right? I have 3 problems here for you. I have 1/4 times 1/11. I have 11 times 2/7, and I have 2 1/3 times 4 1/2. What you should do is pause the video, see if you can figure out these 3 problems. Go back to the examples that we went over, try them out, use the other examples to help you out if you need to, okay? And then once you're ready to go over these 3 examples, hit play, keep going, and we'll go over them together. All right, that way you're getting practice at home, and you can see if you're right or wrong. And if you're wrong, that's okay. This isn't for a grade, right? So just give it your best shot, and hopefully you do well. Okay, so let's try out the first one. So this first one says 1/4 times 1/11. Our fractions are already lined up. So all we need to do is multiply straight across. Multiply our numerators. 1 times 1 gives you 1. 4 times 11 gives you 44. So we write a 4 and a 4. So our answer is 1 over 44. So 1 and 44ths. 1/44, right? Can you get any smaller than 1 over 44? Is there any number that goes into both 1 and 44? No, besides 1. 1 wouldn't change anything, right? So this is our simplest form of the fraction. Let's try the second one. It's 11 times 2/7. First, we need to line up our fractions. But the issue is this 11 a fraction? No. So we need to make it into a fraction. And it's really easy. All we do, whenever you have a whole number, you just draw a line underneath of it and you put a 1 underneath. And the reason we do that, what is 1 divided by 11? 11, because 1 times 11 is 11. You can divide any whole number by 1 and it will equal itself. So we're not changing the value of this 11. So 11 over 1 is just 11. And now we've made it 2 fractions and we can multiply. 11 times 2 gives you 22. 1 times 7 gives us 7. But here's the issue. Yes, this is a good answer, but we want to simplify it. And you never want to leave a fraction as its improper form. So the way we fix this is we divide 7 into 22. 7 into 22. Can 7 go into 2? No. Can 7 go into 22? Yes. What's the closest we can get though? 7 times what? 3. Because 7 times 3 gives us 21. When we subtract these, 22 minus 21, we just get 1. Do we have any other numbers we can bring down? Nope. So now we want to make our mixed number from our improper fraction. So you take your answer, which is 3, so you write a big old 3. You take your remainder, you put that on top. You take your divisor, you put that on the bottom. So your answer for this one is 3 1/7, because 22/7 is the same thing as this. This is just the mixed number form. All right, so now we want to try this last one. These do take a little bit of time. We have two mixed numbers here, 2 1/3 times 4 1/2. Remember, when you have mixed numbers, the first thing you want to do is change them into improper fractions so that we can work with them. The way we do that is you take the denominator and you multiply by the whole number. 3 times 2 gives you 6, and then add the numerator. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7, and your denominator stays the same. So this is 7/3. Let's do the same thing for this mixed number. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So we have 9 halves. So we put a 2 on the bottom because the denominator stays the same. So we've changed our mixed numbers to improper fractions, and now we can multiply them. So let's choose a different color. When we multiply straight across, 9 times 7, 3 times 2. 9 times 7 gives us 63. 3 times 2 gives us 6. Just like over here, we don't want to leave this as an improper fraction. We want to change it into a mixed number. And again, the way we do that is division. So let's divide 6 into 63. So we'll do it right here. 6 divided by 63. Can 6 go into 6? Yeah. 6 times 1 gives us 6, right? Then you subtract these. 6 minus 6 is 0. And we bring down our 3. How many times, so 6 times what gives us 3? Is there any number that would get us to 3 using a 6? Unfortunately not, because 6 is too big, right? It's bigger than 3. So 6 times 0 gives us 0, which leaves us with a remainder of 3. Well, now we can make our mixed number. And remember, the way we do that, you take your answer up top, which is 10, and you write it nice and big. And then you draw your fraction bar. Your remainder goes on top, 3. Your divisor goes on the bottom, 6. 10 3/6. It's a mixed number. It looks good, right? But there's one more thing. 3/6. Remember, you want to make it the simplest form that you possibly can, the smallest you can get. Is there a number that can go into both 3 and 6 evenly? Yeah, there is. So we want to simplify this 3/6. What number goes into both 6 and 3 evenly? Well, 1 does, of course, because 1 goes into everything. 2 goes into 6, but does 2 evenly go into 3? No. So let's try 3. Does 3 go into 3? Of course. 3 is 3. Can 3 go into 6? Yes, it can. So if we divide both of these numbers by 3, 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 3/6 is equivalent, so it's the same thing as a half. So we can rewrite this answer to be 10 and 1/2. And that is the simplest form of our answer. Okay, so that's all we're working with for this week. As if it was nothing. I know it was a lot. I know. Try rewatching the video, try some examples on your own, maybe make your own fractions and get whoever's at home, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, neighbor, friend, anybody, you try making some problems as well and see if you can get them right. And then always try Schoology. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. And remember, on Wednesdays, we have the conferences, so I can go over more examples with you. If you come to the conference, I'll be there from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., so plenty of time for you to pop on in. So just to go over what your assignments again are on Schoology, it's going to be week 5, October 5th to October 9th. When you click on that folder, this is what should appear. So this is a folder for my in-person students. The video, of course, is right at the top. You have your 1-3 practice problems, and remember you have 2 attempts on that. So if you don't do well in the first time, try it again. I'll take the highest score. Please take your time on these, okay? No need to rush. They're always due on that following Sunday. So these assignments are due October 11th at midnight. So you have plenty of time. And then there's also this extra credit. Don't forget the extra credit. It can only help you. It can't hurt you. So please, 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 no matter what your grade is in class, give it a shot. Even if you get 1 or 2 right, that's 1 or 2 extra points for you. Okay? Now for my virtual students, remember, you're doing the 1-3 assignment and you have this Candy Crush practice problems. My in-person students were doing this in class and I will be taking it for a grade. For my virtual students, just make sure that you get this done by Sunday as well. Okay? So that's all I have for you for this week. I hope this made a little bit of sense. Hopefully you learned a little bit more with multiplying fractions. Try some examples that you can make for your own. Try my examples and then do all the assignments that are listed in Schoology. If you need anything, please, please do not hesitate. Send me a message right here in this little envelope. Send where it says create new message, send it to Mr. Dotson, whatever the subject is. Ask questions because I don't know if you're struggling or if you have any questions if you don't ask them. All right. And remember, the very first week I said there's no such thing as a stupid question. So please ask away. And if you don't want to ask a question over the messages, remember, on Wednesdays, you go to groups, you go to Mr. Dotson's Math Crew, and from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. right here at conferences, you'll see I will be in here for that whole 6-hour window. Please stop by, ask some questions, and I'll be happy to help you. Okay? As always, keep doing great. I look forward to working with all of you for this upcoming week, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, class.